What's up, everyone? Tera Roberts here with your free agency deep cuts for week 14. As always, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Fantasy Alarm. Now, at quarterback, there are some great matchup for guys available on waivers. Cam Newton versus Atlanta is a good matchup, but can we really trust Cam's arm? Teddy Bridgewater against Detroit? Yeah, but Denver could just easily rely on the run. Davis Mills against Seattle is risky. A good matchup, but risky with a capital R. Capital I-S-K-Y as well, all caps. You should probably just avoid it. The guy who I am relying on this week is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. For the most part, Jimmy G has been a pretty consistent guy who has averaged around being a high-end QB2. San Francisco does lean heavy on the run with Elijah Mitchell and company, but through all of that, Jimmy G has found the end zone 9 times over the past 5 games, giving him a nice stable floor. This week, he faces Cincinnati, a defense who has been very inconsistent, giving up big games at times, particularly last week against Justin Herbert. Of all the quarterbacks on waivers, I feel like Jimmy G is a guy that you can plug in and feel safe that he's going to give you a solid chance of winning without absolutely tanking your lineup. At running back, we'll start off with the big obvious one, and that's going with Jeff Wilson. I'm not going to dive too deep into it because this one is pretty easy. If Mitchell is out, Jeff Wilson is the play. He is rumored to get the bulk of the carries. We'll probably get a definitive answer literally an hour after I film this video. So, no questions, 100% top ad, monitor, and act accordingly. Moving on to running backs, and we have to actually talk about these guys and justify them. First of all, I hate the Seattle backfield. It is inefficient. It is a committee. It is a nightmare. I don't want to use it, but this is deep cuts, and if you need somebody to help get you by this week that could be a factor, I think you could do a lot worse than Rashad Penny. Penny led the backfield in snaps last week, and Seattle faces a Houston defense this week. If it were any other team, I might be turning elsewhere, but Houston is just plain awful against the run. Penny will likely repeat this week as the lead-ish back and could help your lineup in a pinch. A second option is going with Amir Abdullah. With Christian McCaffrey going down for the season, everyone rushed to waivers to get Chuba Hubbard, leaving Amir Abdullah as very available. In 4 of the past 5 games, Abdullah has had a minimum of 4 targets. In PPR formats, I think that Abdullah could give you a decent upside enough to make him a viable play this week against Atlanta. At wide receiver, I'm going to have a little fun because I'm going to give you 2 guys who offer something very different to your team. If you need a warm body, someone that is guaranteed to get targets and you don't want to take a risk on a high upside player, Traquan Smith is your guy. In DFS, I am recommending Lil Jordan Humphrey, but that's a little too risky to plug into your season-long lineup, so you can just go with Smith, who is someone who has been the most steady target option in the New Orleans offense over the past 4 weeks, with anywhere between 5 to 8 targets per game. He's not really productive with them, I'll give you that, but with Deontay Harris serving out his suspension and the Saints playing the Jets, it just might add up enough to justify plugging him in as a low-end flex option. On the opposite end, if you want to go with a high upside player, Marquez ValdesScantling is your guy available for waivers to give you a potential boost in your lineup. In Week 11, he caught 4 of 10 targets for 123 yards and a touchdown. In Week 12, he caught 4 of 9 targets for 50 yards. This week, the Packers face the Chicago Bears, and while divisional matchups don't always go as we expect, the Bears have struggled against the pass this year, and he could have another big game. At tight end, it makes the most sense to go with Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper is currently the last man standing on that 3-head monster of tight ends that you can't really use, but you kind of want to use, but you really can't use in Cleveland. David Njoku is on COVID IR. Harrison Bryant is battling an ankle injury. So all you've got now is Austin Hooper on a team that is facing the Baltimore Ravens, a team that is bottom 10 in points given up to tight ends. Combine all of that together and it makes Hooper a viable option for you this week. And that wraps things up for this week's free agency deep cuts. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Fantasy Alarm, and come back next week for another round of deep cuts.